Hey, this is Roland from PMI JCM Realty Group, where we manage properties from an asset management perspective. Now, a lot of investors and rental property owners, they're out there buying properties, trying to snap them up. But how do you know whether the property is a good deal, whether you're getting a good return on your investment? It's not always easy for you to know or tell. So what I want to do today is I want to talk to you about what should you know when calculating your rental property rate of return, right? The ROI is very important. There are different numbers that go into that, depending whether you're buying a multifamily, single family, commercial. This is going to be mostly focused towards single family residential property. So let's get into it and let's talk about your rate of return and how to, calculate those numbers. And so the property management basics or the ROI basics before you start investing. Now, that's the first thing I'm going to talk about. And just to let you know, the article has a lot more details on each of these points. I'm not going to read to you word for word all of the details in each of these points, but I'm going to talk to you about each one individual, and you can read the article to get more detail about each point if you decide to do so. Right. So the first thing is the property statistics, right? You need to understand the basics about the property, right? The square footage, number of bedroom, things like that. It's very important that you have that information when you're going to invest in a property, because that will determine possibly exit strategy and the best way to get a good return on your investment. Next is your property repair cost. Now, how much is it going to take you to get this property rent ready or move in ready? That's going to be very important. You need to work with contractors that you trust. And if you have some knowledge yourself, you can, kind of spitball it or gauge it. I was able to do that very well when I started out investing myself, but getting the contractor, because since you're going to be paying them to do the work, it's best to get their insight on it. Mortgage information. You need to understand what type of loan you're going to get, right? Whether it's going to be a hard money loan, whether it's going to be a long-term loan, and depending on what you're doing with the property would determine your financing choices, right? And so determine your interest rates, your down payment, closing costs, all that's going to come into, it's going to be calculated into the purchase price. And so you need to make sure you have all that information. The rental property income potential, right? If you're going to sell the property, you need to get the council of the area to determine what the value is for after repair value. If you're going to rent the property, you need to understand what the rental rates are in that area as well. That's also going to play a role to determine whether you're going to get a good deal and let you know whether you're going to get a good ROI. Monthly expenses, right? Or do you have HOA dues? Are you going to pay utilities? And I recommend you never pay utilities for any property unless you're living in the property or the property is being repaired, or you're about to sell the property. You need to have the utilities on until you sell it. But if it's a rental, never pay for the utilities. Property management partnership costs. Now, I will call that more so a property management partnership investment because property managers can add a lot of value to what you're already doing, right? I had an owner who was renting his property for $1,500. I was able to come in, raise his rent by 25%. So even though he's paying me 10% to manage his property, he nets 15% more than what he was getting before he hired me on as a property manager. And plus he was having a difficult tenant. I took over that headache. He didn't have to deal with that anymore. And we got a good new tenant in that property for him, right? So some people see it as a property management cost. If you're not building that into your potential purchase price, then you're definitely leaving money on the table, because two heads are better than one. And having that additional eye looking at your property, think about it as an attorney on a retainer, right? You don't need them until you need them, but when you need them, you're glad you have them. Next, annual expenses, right? Insurance costs, that should be all calculated within your PITI, your mortgage costs, insurance costs, taxes, and things like that. Next, we want to talk about the components of the most realistic ROI calculations, right? And so these are different ways you can go ahead and calculate your ROI and determine if you're getting a good return on your investment. The capitalization rate is very popular. You can read what that is. Like I said, I'm not going to get into detail in each one of these. Then you have net operating income. right? And so typically net operating income is how much you're getting after you pay your expenses. Annual gross rent multiplier. This is a tool that most rental property owners use to kind of quickly gauge whether a deal is worth doing further due diligence on. So it's very useful. There are different calculators. You can search Google for the actual not platform. So you can search Google to find out how to calculate that, basically. Cash on cash return. This is how much you're getting back in return compared to how much money you're actually spending out of pocket. So it's not talking about your loan cost, basically the cash that you're actually putting out of pocket. Your annual cash flow, how much money you're actually getting. Next, we're going to talk about rules. What are good rules for ROI? So, every situation is different, right? And depending on what your goal is, some people think anything above 10%, cap rate is good. Some people are willing to go 6 to 9%, 6 to 10%, depending on what the deal is, right? You have to really sit down and take a look at your numbers and determine what you're trying to get out of the property depending on what you're putting in and what you're willing to live with. Some people, as long as they're getting $1 and they're not, and they're not spending any money out of the pocket, they're not in the red. They're okay with it because they're getting the appreciation, right? Other people, they have to get a certain amount of cash flow for it to be a good deal. So you first have to determine as an investor what it is that you're looking to get out of the property, and then you'll be better able to use one of those tools to determine if you're getting what you're looking for and if it's a good deal for you. When you're ready to calculate your ROI and explore your options, let PMI JCM Realty Group help. These calculations are not hard to do, and you can go online to find the formulas. That's the word I was looking for earlier. You can go online to find the formulas to calculate each one. The formulas is not what's important. What's important is understanding how to use the numbers to determine whether you have a good deal or not. And that's not always easy to do because that's different from property to property. Anyone could go out there and calculate numbers, but what do those numbers mean, and how do those numbers translate into revenue for you and putting money in your pocket? So all this information I'm giving you is very important, it's very useful, but knowing how to use it is better. So partnering up with a property manager that can help you look at this and analyze it is definitely something that would be beneficial to you. We continue to explore the rental property investment trends in the Tampa market. If this ROI-centered topic sparks your interest to learn more, sign up right now for our free webinar. In this webinar, we're going to teach you how to manage properties from an asset management perspective, how to streamline your property for maximum growth. We're going to talk about this. We're going to show you how to guarantee your rent even if the tenant doesn't pay. We're going to show you how to protect yourself even if the tenant doesn't pay a security deposit, how you can get all the maintenance or the turn paid for. We're going to talk to you about how to streamline your process so that you're not having to drive to a property every time someone wants to see it, wasting gas. Efficiency is the key, and if you can make your property more efficient, you'll make more money in the long run. So this is a topic you don't want to miss, and you should definitely join us for that webinar. You can also find ongoing answers to your most pressing questions by joining our Facebook group. Now, this is a very powerful tool. I mean, having multiple property owners on our Facebook group able to answer your questions, is something that you can't put a price on. So join our Facebook group, it's free, and you'll get a whole bunch of good understanding and background and feedback whenever you have a question. And if you need more in-depth knowledge, or if you need a more in-depth analysis, put a meeting on my calendar. I'm always here to help. I answer my phone, unlike some property managers, and I return calls within 4 hours for my owners, right? And so we definitely will reach back out to you. You can contact me directly at 813-333-9617. Again, that's 813-333-9617, and that's through text, or you can call me. You can also reach me at rcharles@pmijcmrealty.com. Thank you and have a great day.